I've been playing Airsoft for a very long time, just about 20 years at this point, since I got my first Airsoft gun. It has been an incredible journey with this hobby, but one of the things that consistently keeps me coming back is one of the game formats that I think often doesn't get its due. So today, I will be geeking out about role-playing Airsoft games.
Is a true story. All footage is for dramatic purposes only, as no video record exists.
Imagine that you are the regional manager of the upstart Wolf Cola beverage conglomerate. You've been sent to the Zaporizhzhia power plant to ensure that when the dust settles, Wolf Cola can use the plant's energy to fuel their production. You've tried to enforce a safe, non-controversial brand image to keep everyone drinking your product, but you have one problem. Your employees are making deals on the side, and these deals are getting them into trouble. Now trouble has come for you as the power plant manager storms into the bazaar with an entourage of security forces demanding your arrest. You're cornered at a local business along with your marketing director and assistant manager, each of you having nothing but a concealed handgun for personal defense. Outgunned and outnumbered with no way out, you surrender and your weapons are confiscated. Just as you're being detained though, a gunfight breaks out between your business partners and the security forces. In the chaos, you're quickly whisked away to a back hallway of the plant, where the plant manager and two of his heavily armed goons begin to interrogate you. The plant manager sticks his pistol in your face and demands to know who sent your employees after his security. You know the canteen services director put your boys up to it in a bid to set up his own takeover, but you don't know if selling them out is the right choice. You hesitate. While you hesitate, the plant manager shoots your assistant manager to show that he's serious. You fold immediately, not wanting to see more bloodshed or become a corpse yourself, and the plant manager tells you to start walking. You try to negotiate for your employees' lives, begging for a tourniquet for your assistant manager, but the plant manager is belligerent. In the chaos, though, one of your employees who survived the gunfight in the bazaar finds you and quickly wounds all of your captors. Now you have a choice. Do you leave the wounded to die and make a run for it? Or is there another deal to be made here? Hello everyone, my name is Eric, and today I'm going to be talking to you about my favorite Airsoft game format, and that is role-playing games. There are all kinds of different role-playing games in the world of Airsoft because Airsoft, by its very nature, invites the types of people and the types of players who are gonna want to take it to that next level. If you really think about it, most of the rules of the game of Airsoft are all just a shared fiction that we buy into, and we agree that there's this core conceit that when you are hit by a BB, you are dead. But when you are taking it that next level further and adding, different replica restrictions, camo restrictions, fictional factions, scenarios for the games, you're already starting to veer into the little bit of a LARPy realm. So when people say that Airsoft is LARPing, they have a point. I'm not ashamed of it, and you shouldn't be either. But then you take it to that next level where now, instead of just having a framework around the combat isn't even the only core game system. Now you've got characters and world building and an economy and role play and the freedom for players to really self-direct and play in the sandbox of a game world, and that is what makes role-playing games so special. Whether it be something like a Galactic Civil War Star Wars game, whether it be a Mad Max themed post-apocalyptic game, or something Fallout inspired, or whether it be, a MilSim West Insurgency, a GGP, or any of the other different types of formats that are out there that I'm probably forgetting right now. All of these games offer something a little bit different, and I think that that's really cool because the whole point of an Airsoft game is to get together with your friends and play a game that you all think is interesting. And role-playing games really give you that opportunity to create your own stories with all these different actors who come out, and that's what makes them really special. That is also a fundamentally different approach to the game of Airsoft. A lot of Airsoft players, and I'm sure there's going to be people watching this video who fall into this category, view it more like a competitive game or hobby or a competitive sport. Personally, I think Airsoft is a terrible competitive format, but that is what it is. I think it's a lot more interesting, personally, to treat it like a shared storytelling experience. Go out and immerse yourself in the world, immerse yourself in the scenario, and challenge yourself in those different ways, because the combat is a core feature of Airsoft, to be certain, and I love combat versus force-on-force games. But when you go out to something that's more roleplay heavy, you have to embrace a separate mindset with it and approach it differently. I have designed rule sets for both force-on-force and roleplay heavy Airsoft games. I have played and worked both sides of force-on-force and roleplay heavy Airsoft games. And it is fundamentally different, and if you want to enjoy it, you have to go in with that immediate attitude adjustment of, I am not here to win, I am here to play out my character and the actions my character would take and play in the sandbox of where this character is going to fit into this world and what I can do within those constraints. Because there are constraints that you accept by the nature of these games. So this is a very different mindset that you're going to be accepting to go to one of these games, because it is a very different intended play experience. There's going to be more rules, there's going to be more limitations, you might not be allowed to bring certain types of guns, you might not be allowed to bring your own ammo, and all of these things are intended to craft a more unique and different style of Airsoft game experience. You are no longer playing something where combat is the core feature. Combat is now one of 3 pillars of a game. If you're familiar with something like Dungeons & Dragons, it's often said that there are 3 pillars of D&D: combat, interaction, and exploration. And now you've got combat as the core feature of most base Airsoft games, but now you're adding interaction and exploration into the mix, and that is where the game becomes different, complicated, weird, and really, really fun. Because now you're exploring the game world and what the different factions are, what different people want, what the different in-game businesses and in-game players and in-game politics. You're exploring all of those things, and you're interacting with your fellow players, you're role-playing, you're engaging with an economy, you're trading, you're selling your services, you're potentially buying the services of others, you're interacting with the political situation, or whatever it is. All of those pillars create a role-playing game experience. And the combat is now a tool to achieve ends related to those other parts of the experience, as opposed to the tool for all situations. And I think that's really cool, because it's a hell of a time when you are in the middle of a tense standoff and you know that some of these people have guns, and maybe there's people with guns that you don't even see. And now you're trying to figure out, I want to come out of this deal ahead, and I want to be able to make money. So can I negotiate my way into a profitable trade here? Or am I going to say the wrong thing, piss somebody off? Or is the consequences of a previous action going to come back to haunt me? All of these things interact to create a totally new Airsoft game experience, and one that, like I said, is my personal favorite. But with these different pillars and these different styles, that also means that your play style for a role-playing game is completely different from your play style for a force-on-force game. For a force-on-force game, you are going to be working within a unit or working within a team, and then going out to position and shoot in the right way that is going to use your resources intelligently to accomplish a military objective. And while there might be moments of that, or there might be factions that do things like that at a lot of these role-playing games, it's probably not the primary experience of most players. And that can be a bit of a culture shock. But what that means is that doing well in that context takes a new skill set. So we're going to go into some tips for how you can get the most out of your next role-playing game. Tip number 1, obviously, is embrace the LARP. Embrace that you are going out and you're playing a character, you're interacting with a fictional world. Agree and understand that it is silly and let go from there. You are going to look silly, everyone is going to look silly. Wear a costume, have a bit, and just send it. Fully commit. I cannot tell you the amount of fun that I have had with all the different characters that I have played and all the different crazy stuff that I've done. It is so incredible to go out and just have a totally different experience from last time. I personally like to not repeat bits too much. If I come back for a particular bit, it's because I had an idea for how to make it fresh, but always be ready to commit to a bit and embrace the LARP. Tip number 2, related to tip number 1, is embrace that you are playing a social game. And part of embracing that you're playing a social game means play the social game. Understand that you are going to have to explore the world by interacting with people, talking to people, and being careful and being patient and considerate. Know when to listen, know when to talk, know who not to tell your nefarious secret plans to. Know certain bits that you're doing may have a good opportunity for a nefarious secret plan, or maybe if you try a nefarious secret plan, you're just going to get stopped. So you have to play it intelligently and really be careful and act like you're playing in a real living world, because it is a social game. Think about how you would interact with the world if it was your only chance at life. I think Airsoft games, get a very skirmishy style of play when people remember, oh, well, there's infinite respawn, so I can just die over and over and over again, so I'm not afraid to do risky things. But the games play at their best when everybody treats their lives as if they matter. And games can reinforce this by having respawn mechanics that make it so that dying has some consequences. But as a player, you can also just embrace, hey, I don't want to get shot right now. I'm going to run away, or I'm going to try to talk my way out of this situation, and I'm going to be careful who I ally with, and I'm going to really consider what I'm doing so that I can intelligently interact with this world rather than just try to be a chaos gremlin who gets stomped and gets salty. That never works out well, unless you really want to embrace the chaos and are willing to accept the consequences of your actions. But remember, you are playing a social game. Asterisk. Also, don't be weird. Tip number 3 related to the social game is interact with the economy. Most of these role-playing games have some form of in-game economy, and that tends to be the driver of a lot of the quests, a lot of the games that are within the game, a lot of the interaction that happens between major factions. The in-game economy is going to be a driver of that. So engage with the in-game economy. Feel free to min-max the economy a little bit. If you want to have the ammo to do some secret nefarious plan, there is no better way to get that than to be good at using the in-game economy and using different relationships with different factions to your advantage. So embrace interacting with the game world, embrace interacting with the economy, and put some effort into paying attention to what the story is. And that's going to lead into our next tip, which is familiarize yourself with the game, read the rules, and know what kind of game you're getting yourself into. There's no worse feeling than going to an event and having one set of expectations for it, only to realize that it was something else entirely. And I see this way too often with these different role-playing games. A lot of people go in thinking that it's going to be one type of thing, or that it's going to be more of a power fantasy for their character than it's really designed to be, and then they're disappointed with the reality of, wait a minute, why am I starting with no ammo? So be ready to embrace a new style of game based on your understanding as best it can be communicated and interpreted from the rule sets, event primers, intelligence summary, or whatever is being put out. Read all that stuff, buy into it, and go to the game if it sounds interesting to you. Don't try to go to a game because you think you can derail it or game it or cause problems, because I promise you, the people who cause problems at these games don't have a great time. And that's going to lead me into my final tip is divorce your expectations from what's going to be at the game and embrace that you are participating in a mass cooperative storytelling event. everybody has their idea of what this game is going to be, and everybody brings that to the table. It starts with the game masters and the admins, creating the rule set, creating the scenario, creating the experience as they put it out for the players. Then the players take it and they all have their vote and what they're doing out in the game world and how that affects everything and the vibe that that's setting. And you are just one person who has that authority at the end of the day. But everybody does. There's the game masters and the admins who are probably going to try to keep things within, guidelines and set rails. Like, there might be some scripted events, but those events might change depending on what happens within the game world. Those events might get rewritten because it doesn't make sense anymore based on how things have gone. And that's okay, both as an admin and as a player. If things are a little different from how you expected because things are just going differently, embrace that, roll with the punches. It is an improv experience at the end of the day. So remember to say yes and be able to just come up with something new and say, what would my character do? And go down a crazy new path. Always be ready to improvise. I think what this comes down to is I love performing. I love performance. And being able to go out and do that and be a fun part of an interactive game world, that's my jam. That's what I love. And that's the opportunity that these role-playing games give to you. These are the games that you are able to go out and be your own person, choose your own adventure, live a little bit of a different life in a different world for a weekend. And I think that's just so special. I'm really looking forward to being the local provincial governor of the Umbra province for the Schult Underworld with Gun Gamers Productions, but I will have to do an AAR for that after it's over, because for right now, I've just got my scheming and my planning. I'm not going to spoil that for you all. So if you want to play something like the games that I've described, check out the role-playing airsoft games in your area. The next time you see a poster come up for something marketed as open world or post-apocalyptic or LARPy, give it a shot. Implement the mentality and the tips that I gave you. Feel free to use any bits that I mentioned and steal them. There are so many good ideas I didn't even talk about that I've seen from other people. This guy was running a photo booth. This was a fishing ministry. This is a cola distribution and whole beverage network. There's so much that you can do, and I think that that's what makes these games so worth checking out. Again, I personally run role-playing games with Gun Gamers Productions here in the Northeast. There's also MilSim West Insurgency games, which are an incredible time that I can't recommend enough. They have another role-playing game format coming out soon. Definitely stay tuned for that. And we will have more role-playing game content here on the Gun Gamers channel for you. So if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and drop a like and a subscription. If you've been to one of these games and you have a favorite bit that you want to geek out about, throw that in the comments. Or if this sounds like totally not your jam and you think that LARPing is stupid and anyone who does it is stupid, stop playing Airsoft. I'll see you at the paintball field. But anyway, my name is Eric. Thank you for watching this video from Gun Gamers. I hope you found it educational and entertaining, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.